Anytime.
When you were in Procol Harum, both over here playing in America and in England, did you ever play with any other bands on the same bill that you particularly liked?
Talking about a long time ago now. I remember, I don't know if I liked them or not, I remember being impressed by Moby Grape at the time. And I can't remember anything about them, but it just came to my mind then. Let's see, who else? Pink Floyd, they were quite good. Played with a lot of people, you know, and I don't really remember anybody making a great impression, really.
In Procol Harum, there was rather a classical music approach to the sound, and on top of that you added a sort of blues guitar. How did all those influences merge together?
Well, sheer luck, really. I think Gary had an idea of how he wanted it to sound, you know. That's why he asked me to come in, even, you know, at that late date, because he thought it needed some sort of rock and roll edge to it, you know. So it really was his idea, I suppose. But the fact that it came off was more of a miracle than anything, I think, to have that many different influences in one band, you know.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Really?
Baskin Robbins.
Let me see.
That's a good angle. I have a question while he's looking.
Okay.
Of today's guitar players, I know you said a little bit earlier that you don't get to listen to a lot of music, but can you think of any current guitar players that you think have tremendous potential or are going to be somebody's guitar heroes in the next 10 years or so?
No.
No. Okay.
But, I mean, there are players about that I do like.
Uh-huh.
You know, I like Billy Gibbons for a start. He's excellent. I can't think of anybody else, but I'm sure there are one or two others that I've heard that I like, you know, but I'm not very keen on heavy metal guitar players and all this, that sort of stuff. I don't see any of those people making lasting impressions on people because they lack feeling, you know.
Yeah, I think it was real interesting what you were talking about earlier about the whole sort of music today being formula. Yeah, I think it's a real fascinating thought.
Well, I'm sure mine is not the original thought on that, but I think it has become, you know, a problem for music itself. I can't see it really changing now somehow. It's become, you know, it's become so business orientated. You know, you can't get arrested in this business now unless you've got 3 hit singles on an album, and that's kind of dictating to all artists. I mean, I'm talking right at the very top, even what kind of music they're going to make. They can't even sit down now and say to themselves, "Well, I think I'd like to get into, you know, something a bit more whatever." Unfortunately, it's the record companies, you know, well, I mean, it's a business, you know, that's the thing, and it is really become a big business now. I think the thing about the 50s and 60s, that although the record companies were run as a business, they didn't know what they were doing, and it was, hi, come on in.
Maybe they have some questions.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What was I saying?
Talking about record companies, and it was just, they didn't even know it was a business.
Well, I think that's true. I think, you know, they did their best to rip off as many people as they could, you know, but they really didn't know about product. They didn't use the word product then. They sort of, oh yeah, this might sell, let's stick this out, you know, they didn't know anything about it. And they didn't know what kids were going to buy or what people were going to buy then. So they weren't sort of trying to pre-guess what an audience wanted. But now they've got it down to a fine art. They won't buy this, they won't buy that. This is what they want. So unfortunately, the audience don't really get a choice anymore. You know, they don't really get it. It's all formulated. You know, they know exactly what they want to put out, and they know exactly if they do this, this, and this, it'll sell so many, and that's it. And they market it and the whole thing.
Well, how do you think that music video has affected the industry, or artists, let's say?
Well, I think that's kind of the big part of what I'm talking about. I think it's now become, music has now become a visual thing instead of a sound thing, you know, instead of a thing that you hear, it's now become a thing that you watch. And the music has become secondary to the images. Otherwise, I mean, you can't explain how some of those records get to be successful. The only thing that you could say is, well, it must be because of the video. I rest my case.
I'm sorry, can you go ahead?
I saw Procol Harum perform several times. It was always in smaller, intimate halls. And then rock went on to much larger places, and you yourself played stadiums and things like that. What do you feel about that change?
Well, I have been thinking about it kind of recently, actually, and I've been trying to fathom out why I wanted to give up playing, you know, because I'm enjoying it now, but I've been looking back, and I think playing in those big places took a lot of the fun out of playing for me, and it minimised the ability to create in those circumstances. Definitely did minimise that. And playing has always been, for me, creating, you know, not a repetition thing. And I think that's why, in the end, I kind of, I just didn't want to play anymore, because I think rock and roll should be fun, you know. I think it should be joy somehow, you know. Even if it's deep and moody, there should always be joy in it. And I think once you get into those real big places, it becomes work, you know, because you've got to reach people sort of half a mile away, and you kind of have to use sort of an unnatural kind of force to push it at them, what you're doing, you know. And you have to exaggerate musically and visually. So I think it's just unnatural for rock and roll to be, you know, I've been playing this tour in smaller places, a lot smaller places, clubs and small theatres and that. And it's been, you know, just for me what it's really all about. So I think, you know, I've proved it to myself that that's what sort of turned me off anyway. I didn't realise it at the time, you know, because you think, well, you're doing fantastically well and all these people want to come and see you, you know, and you can't really sort of playing a 1,000-seater club when there's 19,000 people that are trying to get in, you know. So, but I think music, if music as, you know, rock and roll as music is going to survive, then it'll have to go back to, you know, this sort of more intimate places where actual moments of magic can be created, you know, between the artist and the audience, rather than, you know, just being kind of a big show, you know. And as long as you hear the sort of the hit and it sounds something like the record, that's it, and somebody smashes a car up or something, you know. I think that's, you know, that's a different area altogether. Am I talking too much?
No, not at all.
I hate to be a crashing boy, you know.
Procol Harum, although they made many albums, did a lot of things that really didn't get on record. I remember one time the band, after playing a set of album music, came out and played Keep a Knockin' for an encore.
Yeah.
And
we did actually make a rock and roll album.
really?
Yeah, but it never got released. Yeah.
What kind of stuff was on that? Do you remember?
All that sort of stuff, you know. Some original and, you know, just a few of the favourites down the line. And I think Keith's still got a copy of it. I'll have to get it off him, but the record company weren't really interested in releasing that. I can probably see their point to that, you know. We did it in a 24-hour session one night. It was a lot of fun.
And that was with Matthew Fisher?
No, that was after Matthew left. That was when we were just a four-piece.
I see, with Chris Scott.
Yeah.
With all the reunions that are going on nowadays, with all the bands, do you think there'll ever be a Procol Harum reunion?
Are you living in hope?
Sort of.
No, actually, someone did ask me that the other day if there was, if I would be interested in doing it, and I said no. I think you can't really go back, you know. And okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can go back on. You know, it's something that happened then. Tell them to knock it off.
It's that late.
Hey!
For business.
It's Avon, isn't it?
Right.
Like I told you.
Yeah.
Must be the sales meeting. Tupperware. Right, the Tupperware.
Did that interfere?
Yeah, I think you should get the answer again.
Yeah.
It's still rolling, so.
Let me ask the question.
Okay.
With all the reunions that are going on nowadays, a lot of bands, do you think there'll ever be a Procol Harum reunion?
Well, I don't. I was asked by a record company if I would be interested in being part of that happening again, and I have to admit I wasn't really interested in it because I think for one thing it seems like it would be mainly just for money somehow, you know, and I think once you start talking about, I don't even know if the others would be interested in it anyway, but you know, it would definitely be a money thing initially. You know, it's like, oh well, we'll put them together and they're good for so many thousand or whatever, so many zillion or whatever, and I think it's like, you know, if you were friends once with somebody and saw them 10 years later, you know, it's just never the same, you know, and you can't recapture. If there was a magic, there's no way you could recapture that, I don't think. You may be lucky and fall in to a new thing that had magic, but I think it's doubtful, very doubtful.
Okay, that's it. That's all I got.
Think now, Pat. Think now, this is it, this is my very last chance.
Or forever hold your peace. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I don't.
Okay.